Let's take a few minutes and discuss the contents of this course from 10,000 feet. Specifically, the course sections, our learning objectives, our hands-on coding project, and our development environment where we'll be doing all of our work. First, let's review the course sections. So we understand how this course lays out. Note that the course is divided into 9 sections, each with a specific focus. Section 1 is the introduction, which is where we are now. In Section 2, we'll get our hands-on projects set up and get our database ready to go. In Section 3, we'll begin understanding how to create queries and other operations on our data using the Mongo query language. In Section 4, we'll start modeling new MongoDB documents. And in Section 5, we'll learn how to work with indices in MongoDB. In Section 6, we'll create some new, interesting data with the Mongo aggregation framework. Section 7 is a high-level review of replication, sharding, and scaling with MongoDB. Section 8 is a deeper look at our project's web application and its mechanics. And the final section, Section 9, is the conclusion of this course. Now let's review our learning objectives. These are the MongoDB specific abilities we aim to have by the end of this course. Our course learning objectives are listed as follows. Set up a MongoDB development environment. In this course, we'll be using the Cloud9 development environment, which is delivered to us in the browser. We'll see how advantageous it is to use an environment like Cloud9 because everything is integrated. We'll also be adding Gulp into the mix, which will make our development process even easier. We'll see how easy it is to get up and running with Cloud9 and that the configuration, headaches, and cobbling together of different tools is non-existent. Everything is there for us in the browser, and it's a very simple environment to use. Set up and configure a MongoDB instance. Getting MongoDB configured and started and getting a development instance up and running is not a terribly difficult task. And since we're using Cloud9, it will be even easier. We'll have an instance up and running in no time, and we'll be using that instance throughout the rest of the course. Run CRUD operations on a MongoDB instance. We'll be using CRUD operations on all of the data that we have in our course project. If you're unfamiliar with what CRUD operations are, it's an acronym. C is for create data, R is for retrieve data, U is for update, and D is for delete. And we'll be using all of those operations as we move throughout the course. Understand and use MongoDB query language. To do anything productive with MongoDB, we need to utilize the MongoDB query language, and we'll become familiar with many of the commands in the MongoDB query language, including the CRUD operations, which were just mentioned. We'll learn how to insert MongoDB query language directly into our JavaScript code so we can utilize MongoDB natively directly from our application. Model data for use with MongoDB. We need to understand how to structure our data that will be stored in MongoDB so we can retrieve it, index it, and run more complicated queries on the data efficiently. But if you come from a relational database background, again, MongoDB is a document-oriented database, and the thinking behind modeling is a little bit different. We'll walk through the theory and then we'll actually practice it in our course project with a couple of different data structures. And use indices in MongoDB. Queries that we create in MongoDB are going to have indices to make those queries run efficiently. We'll learn how indices work in a document-oriented data store, and we'll learn the commands that we need to use to be able to create those indices in MongoDB. Implement MongoDB's aggregation framework. This is one of MongoDB's most powerful tools, and we'll learn to use it so we can become power MongoDB users. If you're familiar with the concept of MapReduce or data mining, you're going to love the MongoDB aggregation framework. Know how replication and sharding work in MongoDB. One of MongoDB's greatest strengths is its ability to scale horizontally. Replication, which is creating duplicates of the database, and sharding, which is essentially breaking the database up into chunks, are two ways to get MongoDB to scale well. we'll gain a full understanding of these concepts. So when you're working with MongoDB in the future, you understand what is going on when you're building an app on a highly scaled database. Access and utilize a MongoDB instance from an app. Knowing how to work with MongoDB, how to get it set up, and how to do queries and whatnot from the console is excellent. However, being able to write the code in the particular language of the application that you're building, say for instance JavaScript, is a whole nother thing. And in this course, we will access a MongoDB database from a JavaScript application. We'll see how that code works, including which JavaScript libraries we need to import to be able to access MongoDB. We'll see how all this works, and those concepts will carry over to other programming languages as well. Understand what MongoDB does and does not do. Through the course, we'll see just how awesome MongoDB can normally be in almost any project. We'll see how its pliable data modeling can ease development, and we'll see how some of its powerful features can provide the kind of data manipulation that is typically required of an application with any depth. However, there's always the case where a relational data store or a graph data store or even a simple data bucket could suit a particular feature in an application even better than a document-based data store. At the end of this course, we'll be in the position to use MongoDB as the go-to backend, but we'll also be able to identify when there's a special case and MongoDB is not the most appropriate choice. As we master each of these learning objectives, we'll come back to this list and check the item off. This way, we can monitor our MongoDB awesomeness as we move along through this course. Now let's walk through this course's hands-on project and the features that we'll build for it.